Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder for SportsNOLA.com. The Saints entering week 2 of the preseason with a game at Reliant Stadium against the Houston Texans Saturday night, 7 p.m. Full coverage, of course, through SportsNOLA.com. Lenny Vangilder of SportsNOLA.com with me as well. And Lenny, second week of the preseason, we see starters more in this game. That's first and foremost.
Absolutely. And as you look at the offense, you know those guys are looking to redeem themselves after what happened last week with 3 3-and-outs. Defense just needs to keep doing what it is that they were doing last week against the 49ers.
And, of course, Houston with some good offensive weapons. Matt Schaub, a Pro Bowler last year. Arian Foster, terrific. And, of course, Andre Johnson, the best at what he does. And we might see all three in this game, although a couple have been banged up in Foster and Johnson. Where the Saints are concerned, you mentioned Drew Brees. Some other things to look for in this game. From an offensive perspective, I guess Mark Ingram, maybe a few more touches than 7. Darren Sproles will get some touches, which he did not last week.
Yeah, exactly. I think all around, I would be surprised or not be surprised if the Saints offense the number one offense played all the way through the first half. That seems to be the indication out of Houston in terms of what happens. The running backs would seem to be able to get the work, as you and I were talking about right before we came on air here. These two teams are going to meet in the third week of the regular season. That is only 5 weeks from now. So if you think they're going to play it close to the vest, which they likely will, then that probably suggests that we'll see more of the running game or maybe short passes and things like that. You're not going to see a bunch of reverses and a lot of crazy blitzes out of Greg Williams, that kind of thing. It's going to be very close to the vest, and from an offensive perspective, that probably means more of the running game.
I hope you like vanilla and not wildberry, okay, is basically what we're saying. Fullback position has become pretty interesting. That's a real competition now, and that's up for grabs, isn't it?
Well, and consider this. Now, unless both Jed Collins and Corey Hall really excel on special teams, and they both can make it that way, probably only one of these guys makes the roster. It's not a full-time position in this offense, but as a result, if only one of them is going to be the starter, only one of them is going to be on the roster. The other one's going to be on the unemployment line in 2.5 weeks. So that's a really key battle, probably more so than some of the other battles because of the end consequences.
Zach Strief, of course, now starting at right tackle. It's a 3-week audition of sorts. While the Saints know what they have, they're not totally sure, I would think, that he's the guy long term. He could be, and this is a real opportunity for him with Charles Brown getting his apprenticeship behind him.
Exactly, and then, it would seem like it is Strief's job to lose, although all indications are that Charles Brown is going to get some time with the ones as well, and if that's the case, then you're going to see a little bit more what you have in Brown. Obviously, they thought enough of him to invest a second-round pick just a year ago. So Brown is going to be there. Strief is going to be there. Who's going to take that first snap come 20 days from now against Green Bay? The odds would tend to suggest Strief at this point.
And then, of course, Joseph Morgan, who had the brilliant punt return last week and had some other good returns, had a long touchdown catch at practice on Thursday, and yet he's in a numbers game. It's going to be tough. That said, if he continues to do really good things, you cannot ignore that.
No, you really can't. He seems like a great candidate for the practice squad. This team is probably going to keep no more than 6 wide receivers, and of that, you're talking about the last couple of guys on there. Those 5th and 6th guys are going to have to be big special teams contributors. Obviously, that's something that plays into Courtney Roby's hands. The thing to remember with Roby is that he is not just a return specialist. We know him on kickoff returns, but he is a great gunner. He's a great defender of the gunner on punt coverage and on punt return teams. And that is obviously not lost on this coaching staff.
Tracy Porter, they'll err on the side of caution, and he'll sit out and get him ready for that opener with Green Bay. And then the Illinois connection. Everybody knows about Pierre Thomas. He's battling for a starting job with Mark Ingram. Obviously, Martez Wilson, a number 1 draft pick, and we know what he's all about. And when you think about Illinois, you really kind of forget about Jared Faison and where he came from, who's been a sensation, at least early in camp, but he's struggling in a numbers game. And, of course, the other guy that nobody's talking about is Nate Bussey. This is a guy that Sean Payton continues to praise, and because of his speed and special teams prowess, he has a chance.
Well, another one of those guys that the Saints have managed to find either on the free agent market or late in a draft that seems like they could outplay their position in terms of where they went on draft day or right after draft day. And certainly Bussey has drawn the praise of Sean Payton thus far. Let's see what continues to happen. Certainly he'll probably get a long look in the second half tomorrow night.
And, of course, Joik Bell started at Illinois as well. So you have a lot of guys that you look at. I said Joik Bell. Joseph Morgan started at Illinois as well. So you got 5 guys that have Fighting Illini backgrounds on this Saints team. Bottom line, it's another preseason game. Don't get overly excited about good things. Don't get overly down about bad things. It's just practice and likely to be a little bit more simplistic than we're used to seeing because of the fact that these two will see each other in 5 weeks. Full